Incredibles 2 has had some of the weirdest levels of opinions for any Pixar sequel, because when it first came back in 2018, reviews were absolutely glowing. A ton of people, myself included, loved this movie when it was first in theaters. And then, well, you know the rest from there. In the months that followed its release, a ton of people started posting online how disappointing or straight up bad Incredibles 2 was. I'm not gonna act like the criticism wasn't justified, but to call the hate this movie got excessive would be an understatement. So many reviews of this movie are extremely negative. More so than the average Pixar film. Aside from Turning Red, I guess. I'm not gonna act like this is a perfect sequel or an underrated masterpiece, because it's not. There are some problems with this movie, but unlike how most of the internet seems to think, those problems thankfully don't stop me from still enjoying this movie. But that doesn't mean it's automatically a good sequel in my eyes, because it isn't. So here's Incredibles 2. Not a bad movie, but a bad sequel. Let's start off with the positives first, because there's plenty of good things to be found. First off, the animation is once again outstanding. Visually, this movie's a masterpiece. Every set piece and character design looks so much better here. The action sequences are also once again really good. Many sequences involving the family or Elastigirl by herself are very well choreographed and filmed. Ones like the monorail chase or the screenslaver fight or the climax where they have to turn the boat away from the city are some standouts. Though I would say the biggest standout action sequences are the ones with Elastigirl, because I'm sure we were all saying the same thing.
This girl is on fire! This girl is on fire!
I also like how this movie still feels very adult, and they don't shy away from showing things that aren't suitable for kids, like getting shot, the action sequences feeling intense, and the inclusion of bureaucracy and social commentary talk. Not to mention they sneak in an F-bomb at one point.
What? No bite!
The movie doesn't feel like a standard kid superhero movie a lot of the time, and I once again have to credit Brad Bird for this talent. They're still able to mix some of the more mature adult topics with the same fun and engagement, just like the first movie. I especially like that we get to see more of the kids, including Violet and Jack and his hilarious new superpowers. And finally, and this is probably going to be a controversial opinion, but I like the character designs in this movie a lot more than in the first movie. They just feel more expressive here, especially on Bob. You really can tell that they had a great time animating him, especially when he has this big meltdown.
How do I do it? By rolling with the punches, baby! I eat thunder and craft lightning, okay? Cause I'm Mr. Incredible! Not Mr. So-so or Mr. Mediocre guy. Mr. Incredible!
Okay, now let's move on to the movie's biggest problem. Yes, the story is a beat-for-beat rehash of the original. It has some new stuff thrown into the mix, no doubt, but for the most part, it's just the same story as the first film, with the lead switched. Right from the very beginning, it's just the same opening fight. So much damage is caused that the superheroes are declared illegal for good, just like the first film. The family is forced to relocate elsewhere, just like the first film. They get in contact with some rich person who tries to keep in touch with the supers to do superhero work in the hopes of making supers legal, just like the first film. One of the parents goes off to do this hero work, while the other parent is left to take care of the kids, just like the first film. Parent A gets in with a secret twist villain that threatens to destroy all superheroes, prompting Parent B to go save them with the kids brought along for the ride, just like the first film. The day is saved by the family working together, just like the first film. Heck, even the ending is just the same cliffhanger as the first film. There's not much about this plot that's super original. There's no time gap, there's no age difference. It is the exact same story, beat for beat. Incredibles 2's story is the same as the first film, really. I'm not saying the whole story is a complete rehash. Everything that happens is all for a good cause this time, and not played out as a big secret one character keeps from the other. It's all in the hope of restoring the legalization of superheroes. It's not a complete rehash, but it doesn't do a whole lot that's noteworthy. Not as much of the same heart is present, there's no exact arc the characters go through, the new characters are given little to no development, it has a weaker villain, and in general is much weaker than the first film. The story is the biggest problem with this movie, and that's why it's so hated. That's why it's considered a bad sequel. Like, say what you will about Pixar's other sequels, but whether they were good or bad, they added stuff to their universes and had things to say. Monsters University was a movie about finding your place in life that showed more of Mike and Sully's relationship. Finding Dory was a movie about overcoming both physical and mental obstacles that gave us more of what we were already accustomed to with Dory. Toy Story 4 was a movie about growth that gave Woody a more down-to-earth struggle as he tried to find new meaning in his life. Incredibles 2 honestly didn't really add a whole lot to the franchise or had any sorts of interesting themes or topics. It's just more of the same thing. And it's from that angle where I can see why so many people loathe this movie. It's still a pretty fun ride, and I'm still able to enjoy it regardless. But if I'm looking for a sequel that actually expands on its story and characters, I'm probably gonna rewatch all the other sequels I just mentioned, regardless of their overall quality.